And I think you gotta start video on the bottom,
Big one, yeah.
the left, bottom left. There you go. Cool. Ready to go? Call the special meeting of the village board Tuesday, April 9th at 12 o'clock. Consideration of newly elected fire department officers. I will read them off. Approved the chief, Jim Barber. First chief, John Kokoza Hill. Second assistant chief, Tom Williams. Acknowledge the captain, Matt Oswald. First lieutenant, Nicholas Benjamin. Second lieutenant, Ryan Russell. Scuba captain, Jeremy Crispell. And scuba lieutenant, Grant Getner. President, we will acknowledge Donnie Smith. Vice President Jim Sullivan. Vacancies of secretary and treasurer. Board of directors, Frank Nestro, Ricky White, and Bob Evans. Take a motion to approve the chief, first chief, and second assistant chief.
I made that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
And I think Alan can beat you to it. Seconded by trustee Miller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Mayor votes aye.
Joe did a nice job.
Did you? Okay, good. I was gonna ask. Glad for you to have done that in my
Yeah.
stead. Appreciate it. Everybody went? No,
Joe
Good
and I
enough.
went.
just you and Joe.
Food was good.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a representation.
Food was good.
That's good. It was a nice setting too.
Oh, yeah, nice room, yeah.
Approved for payment at payroll is SUNY Morrisville Training and the Glens Falls National Bond. These were explained via email. Any questions Julie will address. Take a motion to approve those two payments.
Make the motion to approve those payments.
Motion by trustee Root. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by trustee Master Domenico. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Mayor votes aye. And permission for the DRI proposals, KSBE in the amount of $8,500 and EDR in the amount of $15,250. Any discussion?
Was that why Dan was here? to
That's
go over
why
that?
Dan's here. Yep.
Yeah, so I'd love to.
Okay. Yeah, I know you had some questions that we
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about in your name tags, not on thing.
Oh, that's okay.
Hi, Dan. Hey.
Are we all listening?
No, just
No, how
just Allison's.
somebody stole
No, it's
Oh, it's
there.
right there.
It's there.
It's
It's in behind the
it. It's right
computer.
behind the computer.
They put it on eBay. Okay, Dan, you have the floor.
So we have two proposals. These are for the village sponsored DRI projects. You guys probably remember when we put the package together, it was a joint application. So some of these projects are sponsored by the town. The town has two similar contracts for their projects. And then a couple of the projects in the package are sponsored either by private developers. John Carr had a project in there, Sean Quirk had a project in there. Or nonprofits. Ray and I have been working to see which nonprofits can take the project we partnered with them on. And some won't be able to, like we had a good meeting with the Arts Project. And Tanya and their board don't think that they have the capacity to take on the sponsorship, but they're gonna partner with us on, this is the culture, the arts, public arts project. So we're gonna end up sponsoring, the village will sponsor probably half a dozen of those projects that were in the package that'll get submitted to the new committee to be formed soon. Some of them, we're getting our partners to work on the upfront, we'll say, project development, right? So Tanya is helping us with the call for artists for the public art project. Then we're gonna work on a narrative together, then we're gonna work on a cost estimate together. That's free. A couple of our projects will have no cost. Some of them will have cost because they are projects that we need to do things for that cannot be done in-house or for no cost, right? So the first is KSPE is Sean Doty's firm. Sean's been working with us on the Shepherd Park project. We're kind of preliminarily dubbed it Lake Walk. This is taking that one portion of the beach and turning it into a kind of a park extension and looking at a pier extension. So Sean's gonna help us with a cost estimate and a conceptual design that will be enough for it to be competitive when it gets submitted to DRI, right? That, I think that was 8 and change.
KSB, yeah.
Yeah,
KSB.
8,500.
So that's Sean's role with the village is that contract and that one project. Lisa Nagel, who formerly worked with Alon, they were purchased by EDR. EDR is helping us with 2 projects, and one of them is one of our anchor projects, and it's not super cheap, right? The South Canada Streetscape project. That one is, geez, over 10 years ago. You three will
Saratoga
remember.
Associates did the design originally.
Very, very, prelim design, and it was only for one side of the road. The project we submitted is a full streetscape enhancement for both sides of the road, landscaping, all these things that are gonna go along with kind of making that stretch of road look more like Canada or more like the town's gateway. That was a decent chunk of change out of Lisa Nagel's proposal, and the rest of her proposal is to help us with the signage project, the wayfinding signage project. She's gonna come up with designs for the signs. She'll come up with a map to show us what, where she thinks they should go. Keep in mind, this is all preliminary. It's not final, like, we're not hiring them to do final design on the road project. They're getting us far enough so that when we submit it to the new committee, it's competitive enough to select, right? Ideally, the state wants every project we put in the application to be submitted to this call for proposals. Not every single one will, but as many as possible, and they have to be competitive when they get submitted. So those are the 2 for EDR. The second for KSPE, which came in kind of a little later on, is this concept to take the old McDonald's property that's kind of been blighted a little. And because Mohammed has no plans for it, other than he came up with this idea about maybe doing parking there. So him and the mayor have been talking about similar deal to what we have with Quirk up the block. I think the difference here is that we're gonna help Mohammed a little more with the pre-development and possibly construction funds. So I think we're looking from him for a higher percentage than we're getting from Sean Quirk, right? Because we're really just monitoring and
Right.
enforcing. But if we do some of the legwork to get a parking lot designed, submit that project to DRI and get money from DRI to develop the parking lot, effectively our agreement with him would be for a higher cut. But we need a concept plan for the parking lot to get it into the package and be competitive enough.
Yeah, and the rough estimates, taking the average. What a parking spot would make in the different areas in the village. I took a conservative estimate. We look to make about $60,000 to $80,000 in profit from the parking lot once the work is done. And that is at $2 an hour. We tossed it around at possibly because it's downtown prime parking. It could be $3 an hour. A lot of people have really weighed in heavily, Mohammed being one of them, that think that it is downtown prime parking. And so that could put us in the neighborhood of $100,000. So if we make 50,000 a year, the RI covers a good portion of the construction. We're making money in year 2 or year 3. I had proposed that we pay Mohammed a less than 50%, it's a flat fee of 15,000 a year for the first 2 years, so we could recoup the costs of the construction. At the time, I was thinking of using some tax money or even some money from our reserves to get it up and running for potentially this year. Dan and I discussed it, and he said it actually fits better with our DRI project, our South Streetscape enhancement. And so we've kind of pivoted a little bit. It might not happen for this summer, but it's what the DRI is for. And I think I'd be jumping the gun if I tried to just do it with our own funds and then make it back, so we could actually offer Mohammed a better deal than waiting for year 3 to make 50% of it. So it might behoove us and him to come up with a a better constraint. I do want to lock it in for longer than he suggested. He suggested 2 years and then 5 years on top of that. Whereas I think 10 years is a minimum of what I would like to keep that. I mean, I don't want to hamper him from making improvements to his own property, but at the same time, I think we're gonna lay out the money for both of us to make some revenues and improve the streetscape. I think it behooves us to make it at least 10 years. And I'm working on the agreement. Allison and I spoke in depth about it.
If he comes to us and says, hey, in 3 years, I'm gonna develop this place, we just put a clause in the contract with him. You know, that if it ends up being shorter than the time frame that we want,
Mhm.
we would get some sort of reimbursement for the costs that we put into it.
Right.
Matt's written that in already, so I mean, I'll provide it to any of you, the board.
Yeah,
to-
ideally, you'd rather it be something other than a parking lot.
Right,
Yeah.
But it's such
But
a
in the
eyesore
interim-
now, we don't need, yeah.
We've asked them countless times, what are you gonna do there? What are the plans there? You know, Kathy, there's plenty of people out there that are complaining about the site, and even though it's not a bloody mess, it's still kind of blight. And
Yeah,
it's
it's a-
right in the middle of downtown.
Bomb went off there.
yeah,
And look what's gonna go on around it with the DRI money, right? We're gonna do the streetscape enhancement. The wall on the backside of Gyro Hut, that's gonna be one of our mural walls.
Right.
I mean, we're gonna beautify the entire area and then that's gonna be left there. So
Yeah.
if he doesn't have immediate plans, we can spruce it up, we can landscape it a little. We
Oh,
talked
right,
about
right.
some sort of fence or barrier in the front that can also be painted. And if we can pull off, you know, some profit from parking and have more parking, that's another kicker. 30 more spots in the village is big for us, especially right there. Premier parking, $3, you could charge
Yeah.
$10 a day, $20 a day, and people are gonna pay it.
I get, what was it, Carolina Beach gets $6 an hour.
yeah, Myrtle Beach gets
Myrtle's up
it's
to
five,
$3 or $5.
$5 an hour.
What about the
And-
left-hand turns coming out of there?
That's gonna be something. we
There's
have to work
already the
out.
sign from when it was McDonald's.
No left.
There was no
Across
left
the
turn.
street, but
Yeah.
that's hard to see.
It is. I think we could sign it better than
Yeah.
that.
Some-
Even painting it on the ground, no left turn.
That, because that's, you're asking for trouble there.
So
with
the
left-hand
exit,
turn.
the way you sketched it is the exit lane is kind of like a slip aisle. It's almost angled so that
Kind
they
of
have.
Force
to
them
go.
in that direction.
Yeah.
yeah.
And an arrow on the ground would,
You
break
could
turn.
prolong the curb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of
Yes.
direct people out. Yeah,
And the sidewalk, people crossing, it's, people, pedestrians are going right by there and it's dark or,
Yeah.
it could be. It's a dicey situation with the,
Well, it's just too close to the light to try to make a left-hand turn.
yes, that's
The
why.
intersection.
yeah, that's, I think,
Especially
that's
when
why,
it's-
and that, and the Maynard Center, pulling out of the Maynard Center is also a no left.
Well, McDonald's was worried about
And the post
the
office.
drive-through food backing up is what they were worried about. That
Yeah.
could be why they made it no left-hand turn, but yeah, we need to get a little more creative with, besides just a sign across the street.
Yeah.
I think my discomfort with it is that the deal isn't set in stone yet. So if we start putting out money for someone else's property and then the deal ends up turning to a point where I don't feel like we'll make enough money from it, I think that's where my discomfort is, especially too, like with the DRI, you're saying we're gonna put a mural there, but his plan is not to have it be a parking lot forever. So eventually would it
He doesn't
take
know.
away from the
He
mural?
doesn't know if he's gonna develop that. What we know about the mural and the building behind it is that Gyro Hut's agreed to it. It's the best wall in the village that we have to do some public art on.
Mhm.
And while next door stays empty, we capitalize on the open canvas, so to speak.
Is there any way that we can hold off on just paying for his parking lot until he's committed and we have a set deal in place where it's like, it's this percentage, it's this percentage? Because, I mean,
We're basically days away from that. The only thing that,
also for days away, could we just hold off then until Monday, our Monday meeting for his?
I don't think that's a good idea. I think we need to get started on it. I have no indication whatsoever that it's gonna fall through. I mean, he's actually been after me since I took office to try to come up with an agreement to turn that into a parking lot and partner with him.
Me since we won DRI.
Okay.
What I would say, Allison, about paying for the lot, we're not gonna have projects selected, money in hand and starting work on any of these things until 2025. The only thing we would be paying for now is the contract with Sean. And if Matt can integrate into the contract he's developing for Mohammed, that if the thing falls through, he has to reimburse us for the design cost.
Yeah, that's,
That's fair.
yeah,
Okay,
that's
that's
the CYA move right
Yeah,
there.
that's fair.
He just
That's a
cut
good
us
idea.
check. Remember on the flooding thing?
Mhm.
He just cut Labella a check for $6,000 or $7,000 that he owed them. He's good for the money, and he's a good guy, but I would put a clause in the agreement. If we spend soft costs and the project is dead, he should pay us back.
Okay, I'll have Matt add that. That's a good idea. That's actually, is that?
That makes me feel more comfortable
Okay.
for spending this
I think
money.
that's fair. That's not a hard thing to ask
It's not
either.
unreasonable at all.
No, no, not at all.
And I just want to add that, you know, right now that property is prime, it's sitting in a weird purgatory limbo. And it's great that we have a vision for it. I know the cost seems high. It's, I went through it a few years ago where I had to spend that much money on possibly up to those more.
Oh, yeah.
If we were gonna do it, and I had to, the soft cost of it unfortunately was, we had to hire the firm to come in, do the drawings, do everything, the project never went anywhere. And kind of sucked. That being said, this project here, being a parking lot, we get 30 more cars into that lot. We get rid of the blight that's there. I know blight's a hard word, but honestly, it doesn't look great. And we get a project on books with DRI right now. I know they're waiting for us. You know, we put out this application. How much money did we spend on our application? A lot.
To Elon, 20 grand
20.
probably,
Yeah, I think it's funny.
well over 20,000.
Yeah, it's not good.
Split between town and village, but that's nothing compared to some of the other places that have won.
Oh, yeah.
They, you know, some of the other places that have been awarded in the past spent 6 figures on their package, but you're right, they are expecting us to deliver. And I think, you know, the ambitious nature of the application and all of the strong projects in it, they're expecting more out of us in terms of delivering. So, but we have, the good news is we have time to get there. This committee's almost formed basically and gonna start meeting soon, and we have another 6 to 8 months to flush out projects and get the public involved and that type of thing, but we have to get to the table competitively. Otherwise, there could be other people out there with other projects that are more ready than us. And if the committee, who, you know, it's not like most committees that we can kind of control how they vote and things like that. This is gonna be a group of 15 people that their decisions may be out of our hands, and if we're not competitive enough, they may pass on our projects. And so we've got to get in and have strong graphics, cost estimates, good narratives, and a good case for revitalization. And I think to your point, the blight, you know, there's a couple sites around the village and town that we need to focus on. And this, aside from DRI, this has been one.
It's not ideal, but it's good, short-term
It
solution.
is a good short.
And we have a exit strategy when the time comes that we can turn it over to back to the owner. And hopefully he's in a position to do something better with it.
I like the legal on it. I think it's a big, especially with public perception. I talked to Ray a little about this, is that the perception is that we handed a check for $10 million. Here you go.
Party.
And
Yeah.
they don't understand the regulation to it. And also, in order to unlock that chest with 10 million in it, we need to spend a few $1,000s to conceptualize, sorry.
You got
I'm
that.
tired. Our ideas onto paper, because like, again, that chest is locked. To make it figurative speak, and we need to unlock it with the drawings, with the cost estimates. And how we're gonna do it, whether it's the Southscape entrance into the village, which we need, or Shepherd's Park, or this parking lot, we're gonna have to spend it to make it. And it's not even 2-3-fold. I mean, go for a few thousand to 10 million, you do the math. It's totally, I think it's a good idea.
And about 300 of the 300,000 gets set aside for a consultant that is hired for us by the state to take what we've developed and kind of finish it. So what they won't do is start us off. They pick us up from point B and bring us to the finish line, but they won't start you off with that money. So that's part of the competitiveness. You have to be ready. And we did a really good job with that application, making it look like we were like beyond ready. Some of the projects are still pretty infantile. So we've got to get them to that point where they're competitive enough to get not only selected, but to get the amount of money that we need to make it reality. You know, the Shepherd Park project needs $1 million at least.
Yeah.
At least $1 million. Same with South Canada.
We're just blessed because we got the design work taken care of through other means to get this project off the ground. And that one is probably the most ready project aside from the art, the standing art project. It's low hanging fruit because we started it not knowing if we were gonna get the DRI money. We were gonna look for funding elsewhere. So we're fortunate that it's that far along that it can happen. And it is like, I want to say, because Luke's here, the being awarded the DRI in December was fantastic. It was a blessing, but it was also a curse because the amount of time it takes to get momentum, we couldn't have any committee meetings until all of the other, is it 12 regions total? 10 regions total have been awarded. So it seems like we're stutter stepping, but we're not because our hands have been tied. We can't have any meetings until the rest of the DRI awards for the other regions are out. So yeah, it's great. It was wonderful late Christmas present, but at the same time, you don't want people to think we're sitting on our hands and we're not.
No, I've heard some silly rumors out there. You know, we don't know what we're gonna do with the money. We're not ready and things like that. I mean, all you have to do is do a little research and find the application online to see what we were going after the money for. We are ready. It's just, there's pre-planning, there's pre-development, and then there's development. And we did the planning work. We got to get that pre-development done. So it's enough to get us to this point. Once they select the project, they give us the money and we take it off running from there.
We're moving at the speed of government.
Yeah. We're trying to go a little faster, but, you know, we had to sit around and wait for 5 months.
Yeah.
For the other regions to get awarded and then the committees to be formed. So we'll start that process meeting with the committee, I think either later this month or in early May.
Would we be able to get updates on what the committee is working on just for our own personal?
Oh, yeah, the
Public-
consultant develops a
Yeah.
website.
Mhm.
They're gonna have 6 LPC meetings. They're all open to the public.
Oh.
So whoever's not on it can be there, listen, whatever. And then we're gonna have workshops that are gonna be a little more specific to the project development. You know, we might have one just for South Canada. Here's our concept plan that
Mhm.
we're paying Lisa to help us with. What do you think? What are pros, cons, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So there's gonna be a heavy public participation process that'll kick off pretty soon here and be strong through the summer. And then at the end of the process, the committee kind of siphons through all the projects that get submitted. Don't forget, we're not the only ones submitting, right? The town's gonna submit a few. A couple of these private property owners that had their projects in the application are gonna submit. And then there's others out there, like Doug's Maynard Center, he's approached and asked us what do we think about him putting that into DRI? Anyone gets to apply. But if you have an idea and it's not on paper, it's not got a pro forma or a cost estimate, it's not gonna get selected. But, you know, everyone and their mother's been calling us and they got awarded for money. You know,
Yeah. I keep telling them you have to have a professional
Yeah.
plan. You can't turn in the back of a cocktail napkin. So it has to be, you know, somebody with letters after their name had to, you know, make it for you. So, I hope that was a good enough explanation. I'll incorporate those changes into the agreement and, I'll take a motion to approve, the DRI proposal payments.
With the contingency that those things get put into the.
Yeah, I just said
We
that.
just said,
Proposal?
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by trustee Joe. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Mayor votes aye. Motion's carried. That is the agenda. Does anyone have anything else to discuss? Hope everyone enjoyed the solar eclipse yesterday. It was once in a lifetime kind of thing for a lot of us. Might not make the next one, who knows?
Unless you have the money, you can fly all over the world and catch them.
every 18 months.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, right?
Really? Every 18 months?
I think so.
Round
Yeah,
about
so
that, yeah.
Different
Somewhere
areas.
in.
Somewhere in
Yeah,
the world, yeah.
Not in the United States.
Did you read about that guy flew over from,
Yeah.
he had, it was his birthday and his name matched the town in Illinois and he flew over from Wales, I think it was.
Really?
17-year-old boy with his mother and his brother.
That's a cool
There's all
story.
kinds of stories. to
Well,
go.
there was an engagement, a local engagement that happened
Oh, yeah,
yesterday.
okay.
It was,
Alex Gary and AJ,
Oh, yeah,
they got engaged yesterday.
well, that's right, there was.
right during the totality.
Minnesota,
I
something like
can do an
50
adjournment.
states.
So, having that said, since Allison said she'll be adjourned, I'll, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So ordered. Thanks, everyone.
50 people got married yesterday,
Oh, really?
all together in one big group.
Oh, cool.
Very